The late afternoon rain had left the streets of Oxford glistening like wet glass. Beneath the great dome of the Radcliffe camera, tourists had vanished, leaving only the echo of raindrops and the smell of old stone. Inside a small cafe on Catte Street, two university friends sat opposite each other, their steaming teacups fogging the window that looked out toward the square. Ethan sat calmly, stirring his tea without hurry. His manner was quiet, the kind that carried both kindness and conviction. Across from him sat Thomas, impatient, clever, and a touch defiant, the kind of man who loved questions more than answers. "Tell me something, Ethan," Thomas said suddenly, leaning forward with a spark in his eyes. "You always talk about God as if he's real, as if he created everything." Ethan looked up, smiling faintly. "I believe he did." Thomas smirked. "Then who created God?" The cafe seemed to pause. Ethan placed his spoon gently on the saucer and said, "That's a thoughtful question, Tom. But tell me, did you come up with it yourself, or did someone feed it to you in a debate club?" Thomas laughed, half amused, half defensive. "Why does that matter?" "It's a logical question. Everything has a cause, doesn't it?" Ethan nodded slowly. "Everything within the universe, yes. But you've made one assumption, that God is within that system, that he's caused like everything else. But the very definition of God is uncaused. He's the foundation. The one who begins everything but himself has no beginning." Thomas frowned. "That sounds like a convenient loophole." "Science says everything begins somewhere." Ethan leaned back, still calm. "Then tell me, what began science? Or rather, what began the beginning?" Thomas blinked. "What do you mean?" Ethan smiled softly. "If everything has a start, then what started the start? Before the universe, before matter, before time, what was there? And if there was truly nothing, how did something come from nothing?" You're turning philosophy into riddles, or maybe you're trying to simplify what's too deep to fit in one line. Let's test something practical. If your phone dies, what do? "Plug it in, obviously," Thomas replied. "And what gives it power?" "The socket." "And the socket?" Ethan pressed. "Electric grid." "Power plant." "Good. And where does the plant get its energy?" Thomas hesitated. "From coal or gas, maybe wind." Ethan nodded. "And each of those depends on something else. See, that's what philosophers call contingency. Every single thing you use, touch, or know depends on something else to exist." Thomas tilted his head. "I can follow that." "Now imagine," Ethan said quietly, "if everything in existence was dependent, one thing on another, endlessly. Would anything ever truly exist if the chain never had a first link?" Thomas frowned, his brow furrowing. "I suppose, not really." "Exactly," said Ethan. "If you remove the first domino, none of the others fall. Somewhere, there must be one thing that exists on its own, needing nothing else. The source, the beginning. That's what we mean when we say, God, the Big Bang, and the question of laws." Thomas gave a soft laugh. "You mean the Big Bang was just divine fireworks?" Ethan grinned. "Maybe. But tell me, why did it happen?" Thomas leaned back confidently. "Quantum fluctuations, random bursts of energy. It's basic cosmology." "Ah," said Ethan. "But even quantum fluctuations follow physical laws. They don't just pop out of nowhere. So who, or what, wrote those laws?" Thomas hesitated. "The laws just exist. They're part of reality. The laws exist, but why? Why are they there instead of nothing? Saying the universe created itself because the laws allowed it is like saying a book wrote itself because grammar exists. Laws describe, they don't create." Thomas looked down at his cup, quiet for a moment. You make it sound tidy. Too tidy, Ethan smiled. Truth often is. It's our minds that are messy. Imagine you're standing in a queue outside the Bodleian Library, but in front of you are infinite people, and no one moves until the one ahead does. Do you ever get inside? Thomas laughed. Of course not. I'd be stuck forever. Exactly. If there were infinite steps before now, we'd never reach this moment. Yet here we are, drinking tea, arguing philosophy. That means the chain had to start somewhere. There must be a first cause, something outside the line. Thomas smirked. And you call that first cause God? You can call it what you like, Ethan said softly. But whatever it is, it must exist by its very nature. It needs no cause, no support, no external force. That's what we mean by the necessary being. So when I asked, who created God, I was already assuming he was created. Ethan nodded, smiling. Exactly. It's like asking, who made the bachelor's wife? The question destroys itself. You were applying the rules of created things to something that, by definition, isn't created. It's what philosophers call a category error. Thomas rubbed the back of his neck. Well, you've definitely scrambled my head, Ethan laughed. Good. Thinking usually does.